you could be wiser as an educated advisor. Hello everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and money color commentator. On today's show, the longevity risks of living longer, part 4 in our series on the mortality revolution, all here on Let's Get Down to Business. Now we're going to be talking about longevity risk, and there are some serious risks here. I'm not going to go through all of them, I don't have the time, but if you've ever watched any of the videos that we've done on our interviews with Tommy Hagner or Curtis Cloke, they come with a ton. I think Curtis is up to 20 different longevity risks now, and some of these are blockbusters. I want you to look at this chart. This is mortality at the global level. When I'm looking at people that are 80 or above, look at the blue. These are our 80 and above people, Canada, the United States, Europe. We are all getting older. Look at what's happening. Africa is the youth of tomorrow. All these people that are living down in Africa, they're the youth. When we think about Australia and Europe and the United States and Canada and some parts, as you can see, some parts of even southern South America, those are the areas where you're going to see some longevity, Japan especially. So when I'm looking at the global view here, get ready. I mean, really, we're going to be living longer, and we're going to have the oldest populations that have ever lived. Think about it. There's more people that are age 65 and older now than have ever lived in the entire earth. The longevity movement is huge. The mortality revolution's impact is without question. Now look at, this is a small timeline on advances that have been affecting longevity. When I start out here in the 1633 to 1634, the smallpox epidemic from European settlers was huge and had a deep impact. Now, remember, before that, you're looking at the plague and things of that nature about 400 or 500 years before that. But when we're looking at when we talk about more modern times and the discovery of America, smallpox was a huge issue. And in 1750 to 1793, yellow fever had a huge impact from the Caribbean, and people were dying because of this. We didn't know how to defend against it. We didn't have the medical technology. And then when we got into 1855, somewhere in that vicinity, we had scarlet fever. It came in waves, 2 or 3 waves. The cholera epidemic came in 3 different waves between 1832 and 1866. And this is in America. This isn't like in a third world country. We were struggling with the technology and the advancements that were crimping the actual longevity. We could not move on until we defeated these diseases. And then when we got into the Spanish flu in the 1918, and then the typhoid Mary epidemic and the diphtheria epidemic in the 1921 to 25, all these were impacting the way we were. Even the AIDS, which now, of course, we've really been able to manage that. But back in the time, in the early 1980s, it was a death warrant. So every time we've been confronted with a disease, it seems like we've had medical technology and advancements to bring it under control. And whooping cough, I remember this is the last one in 2010, whooping cough in the United States to 2014, that was a really big issue. We're learning more and more about this, and the impact that this is having is unbelievable. And as we move past certain diseases and we've conquered them, or at least modified and managed them, we're being able to live longer. And so I haven't seen, in my view, I have not seen one major medical advancement that is going to cause an extension of mortality. I think that is yet to come, and in my lifetime. Now I want you to look at this. There's basically 3 phases of retirement. The go-go years. Now, I'm thinking about looking at retirement at age 70, okay? That's what I'm thinking about. And I can see myself, based on my health today and so forth, I can see myself wanting to do all kinds of things. I want to go some places. I want to go to Europe. I want to go traveling. I want to go see my grandkids. I want to go to Disneyland with them. I have a lot of go-go ideas and go-go years. But then when I get around 80, I might be saying, you know, I'm going to start slowing down. I might be going to, the restaurant at 4:30 to beat the rush because I'm going to be in bed by 8:30. You know, I'm going to be slowing down. And when I start slowing down, my spending is going to slow down. And then when I get into my later years, I don't want to go anywhere. I've met some people that are just happy. They have their whole life planned out. They're now post-90. They're at home. Some of these people are very active, but most people aren't yet. But I see a new trend in baby boomers. I think we're going to revolutionize geriatric thinking. I think we're going to revolutionize retirement. I think when we get into the 90s, we're going to stretch these slow-go years into the no-go years, and those years won't start till 95. That's just my prediction. I think the children of the 60s brought in revolution to our society. I think they'll do it again when it comes to retirement. Now, We're parsing smokers. Remember, at the old days when I came into this business, this was a way different business that we're in now. We're taking from averages and ratings. We're looking at the average mortality and we're applying ratings to that. Smoker and non-smoker. We're taking different levels of standard. We even have preferred smoker. I mean, think about how we're managing this. When you look at it, when I came into the business in the 80s, you were either a smoker or a non-smoker. This is just a 5 category of the standard or above. Remember, we have table ratings that go all the way out to 16 tables. We have 3 different definitions of declinable, imminent death, things of this nature. We've changed the way we talk about these things. So look at this. Top of the line, super preferred. Classification 1, classification 2 is preferred plus, 3 is preferred, standard plus, and standard. These are all, again, non-smoking categories. So when your blood and urine is taken for an exam and they look at your APSs, they're parsing all that information and assigning it on a different playing platform. And the more you go up the line to preferred towards super preferred, the least amount you're paying in cost of insurance. Think about this. These are big 4. I mean, there's, again, like I said, Curtis Cloke has about 20 of them. Here are the big 4. Longevity risk is not only a risk in itself, it's a risk multiplier because it affects everything else. So if I'm going to have a long-term care risk, and I think as a boomer you are, because we're going to be living longer, we're going to have medical and long-term care costs that we have to address. And because today 70% of seniors are using some form, some degree of long-term care, you were going to be sitting there using a lot more than that later on. Maybe not at this age at 70 and 80, but later on in life because we're going to be living longer and the cost of geriatric lifestyle and medicine is going to be high. So we need to think about that. Inflation risk. Right now, I don't really care what the government says, their COI or whatever inflation number. I have to buy groceries, I have gasoline, I have utilities, I have normal pay. And if they don't want to put it in the seniors' understanding of CPI, that's their problem. But most of us that are planners are already looking at this. The commodities of life have to be priced into inflation. And mortality, the longer we live, think about it. I went to my junior prom at 29 cents a gallon for gas. I mean, astonishing, right? That same dollar now is worth 15 cents in 2015. Now think about it. This is why I'm looking at the mechanics of this. And the sequence of returns risk, listen, as long as I was accumulating money, that was fine. The same model and the same math works when I'm just accumulating. But the ups and downs of the market when I'm taking money out during distribution compounds a huge part of my return. And that sequence of return risk is so big that I think many people are going to be short when they get into their mid-80s because they didn't account for the withdrawal rate during ups and down markets, which were punitive and punishing to their portfolio. Tale of Two Brothers. And this is some years ago where we were issuing contracts based on mortality, and part of that mortality problem or advantage was smokers. So if you have 2 twins and they're both 65 and they both have been doing their same portfolio and the same kind of investment, they went ahead and they issued a same policy for $500,000. The date was the same, the money was the same, everything was identical until they had the policy delivered to them. And as soon as brother A, who doesn't smoke, looked at brother B, who did smoke, he noticed a different benefit, a higher benefit. And he turned to the insurance agent and said, why is my brother? We're the same age. We have the same date of issue of the policy. We put in the same money. We bought the same single premium immediate annuity. And he said, the reason is because your brother smokes and you don't. His life expectancy is shorter. That means his benefit's higher. Now we're rewarding bad behavior. Think about that. Wow. The children of the 60s are now in their 60s. Here's the Rolling Stones. Hey, some of them are in their 70s. Think about it. They're born between 1948 and 64. 10,000 a day are turning 62 in the boomer land. And can't think about it, we'll live longer than any of our previous generations at this point, and 75% of us have not saved enough for retirement. This is the kind of poster that should wake us up and say, man, these guys look old. Yeah, well, look in the mirror. We look like these guys. Don't forget to watch our next segment on human life expectancy, the final frontier, part 5 of our series on the mortality revolution. And keep in mind, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always check with your tax consultant, legal counsel, or your compliance officer. And don't forget to subscribe to my consumer show, Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game. Daily content that you can post on your website, social media accounts, and database distribution. I'm Steve Savant. Thanks for watching.